Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Hi, it's Joanna Hunter here for the Into the LightWeb podcast, and I am joined with another fabulous guest on my $1 Million Lab series. So today I am joined by Shawn Thomas. Shawn, come and tell people who you are and what it is that you do in the world.
Boy, that's an unraveling story there. First, I want to say congratulations on your big 700,000 mark. I saw your post and just want to say congratulations and massive kudos
Thank
to
you.
Huge accomplishment. Way to go. Way to go. That's a serious 6 years.
Thank
right
you.
there.
Yes,
okay, my story. Oops, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yes, it's been huge. It's been massive. So thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Okay, long story short, I'm 51, so it's been a long journey, and hopefully only halfway through. I was born in a military family, so both my parents were in the Army, so we moved around a lot when I was a kid. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, then we moved to Washington, D.C., then New Mexico, and then when I was 8 years old, we ended up in Alaska. And my parents still live in the same house, a little small town called Eagle River, which is right outside Anchorage. And I got my first entrepreneurial kind of drive when I was younger because my parents didn't make a lot of money. And I was really jealous and envious of my friends that had new clothes each school year and things like that. So my parents put me to work at an early age when I was 12, delivering newspapers. Lived there until I was 18 years old. And while I was in high school, I got an itch to sing. And I got into high school choir. And the reason I got into choir is a couple of us friends who were on the basketball team. You pick your classes and you stand in line, and we saw where all the cute girls were, and we're like, what line is that? And so they're like, that's choir. And we're like, we're getting into choir.
I love that.
And so I got into choir, but then realized that I really had a passion for singing. And during this time, music television, MTV came out. And I said, you know what? That's my first big goal in life. I want to get on MTV and I want to be a professional singer. So my parents were like, okay, if you're going to do this, then you obviously can't do that living here in Alaska. And so 2 weeks after graduating high school, with not a lot of money, I moved to California because I wanted to move to where the opportunity was, which common theme in finding success in life, but I didn't know it at that age. And I moved to California, and within 3 years, I got a record deal on Warner Brothers Records in a boy band. And we traveled with a circus called Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And we traveled for a year, played every major sports arena in the country, got on MTV, which was really neat. We're in a lot of the teen magazines and just had the time of our lives at 21, 22 years old.
That's amazing.
And so after that was done, I said, I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. I didn't realize that I would accomplish that goal so quickly because I was told by a lot of people that the ability of me moving from a small town to one of the biggest cities in the world and accomplishing my dreams was going to take a long road, and I had to pay my dues. So it was really fast.
They sing country songs about how long that's going to take, right? Like, and you really lived that American dream, right? Of going from the small town to California, actually making it, reaching the goal of being on MTV. I mean, like, that's so cool. And that was the coolest place to be, back then. Because, I also was like a big MTV generation person.
Oh, yes. It was life-changing. And so anyway, so after I got done, I said, well, what's next? And I always had dreams of being rich and famous. And I was like, okay, I've gotten a little bit of fame. I wasn't like, Justin Timberlake or anything, but for me, it was fame. And I said, okay, now let's do this rich part. What's the best way to get rich? And I'd always heard and reading books and magazines and watching on TV that you had to be a business owner if you wanted to be rich. And I said, okay, well, let's just do that. That should be easy. And I then went through what I call my decade of desperation, which is I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any coaches. My parents weren't millionaires. So even though they loved me and bailed me out a few times financially. They were always there for me, and they always had a room in the house for me if I ever wanted to give up and move back home. And I just said, I'm just going to keep along this. And I claimed bankruptcy and all the typical stories of a lot of bootstrapping entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of mentorship and help in their life. And then finally, at the age of 32, I started my company that I found some success with, and it was selling those internet kiosks and business center computers to hotels here in the United States.
Okay.
And I was introduced to my first mentor, who kind of coached me along the way of business and became an investor in my company. And we had that company for 11 years. And inside of 6 years of building the company, I became a millionaire. And then in 2013, we sold the company for a little over $20 million. And I got a nice little check from that, or wire transfer those days. And after that, I decided that I needed to decompress and take some time off, because there was a lot of emotion that goes on with selling something that you've dedicated.
You pour your heart and soul into it. I successfully
how parents
sold
feel
a business.
when their kids go away to college, how they feel emotionally. I had nothing, because my business was everything. Even though I had great friends and my family and what have you, it was an emotional time.
It's a loss, because I've successfully sold one of my businesses. I had brick and mortar shops, and I had a cafe and things, and I sold my shops, and they had been my baby. I'd poured like my heart and my soul in there, and it was an extremely difficult thing. And then also as well, I think so much of our identity can get tied up in our business, right? Like I was known as Joanna from Branded. Branded was my clothing shops, and I sold branded clothing, right? So like it was like I wasn't even a whole person on my own. It was like I was this from this company, and then suddenly I didn't have the company. I was just me on my own, and it was relearning what comes next, and I love that you took the time to decompress, because I think a lot of people just throw themselves into the next thing.
Yeah, I agree. It was very emotional. So you definitely know that feeling. And so I took a few years off, and I fell in love with Instagram at the time. And this was back in 2015. I'd gone and traveled quite a bit, went to Peru, Machu Picchu, and did some spiritual stuff there.
Amazing.
And I went over to Paris and traveled around France and the south of France for a couple months, and just really lived life. And these were on my bucket list. And it was nice to be able to do that and not have to worry about work or anything. It was crazy. And so I fell in love with Instagram, and I came across these accounts on Instagram that were all about Millionaire. And it was all of these accounts that were like these big motivational memes with pictures of Ferraris and Bugattis and mansions and stacks of cash and gold watches. And it was all of this, rhetoric of, the millionaire lifestyle. And I was like, no offense, but I am a millionaire, and I certainly don't live my life that way. Who in the world are these people running these accounts? And I got intrigued. And so I reached out to a few of them on direct message, and by and large, most of them were just little kids over in India that had created these meme accounts, and were just, they were dreams of theirs. They weren't millionaires or anything. But then I did come across a guy who was an actual millionaire, and he was like, Shawn, yeah, Instagram is like the future. This is Instagram's amazing. You should get into it. He had an account that had like 50 or 100,000 followers. And he's like, I've got a little program. I can help you build your account, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's do that. And he's like, well, the first thing you need to do is think of a name for whatever your account's going to be. And so I wanted to be transparent and authentic and real. And I said, I'm going to name, what is my life kind of like? Okay, I am a millionaire. So millionaire is kind of a buzzword that gets people's attention. And then when you find success, and you probably experience this a lot, Joanna, that people want to ask you questions of how you did it and what should they do. And I said, I'm going to create an account called Ask a Millionaire. I'm just going to let people ask me questions, and I'll answer their DMs, and I'll respond to their comments, and I'll put up that traditional, motivational stuff, but I'll also share some pictures of me and my life and all that type of stuff. And as you know, because you've been on Instagram a while, there was no stories or live streams back in the day. It was just a newsfeed. And the account grew really quickly. Inside of a few years, it hit 1 million followers. And as Instagram started to release new features, I started doing more live streams. And so I do a lot of Q&A live streams, and I just go on there and press play and let people ask me questions. It's not me coaching.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
just answering questions. And so it's been really fun. And during that process, people started saying, hey, would you mentor me? Would you coach me? And I said, I'm not really a coach. I know business, but I'm not really a coach, I don't want an obligation to be a coach to somebody, but I do love mentoring and sharing my experiences and making introductions to other people and things like that. So I started a little mentor community called Ask a Millionaire. And in 2019, it had grown. And I said, I'm going to turn this now I'm ready to get back into business. And so I started thinking about what kind of business I wanted to do. And I said, I'm just going to turn this into a business. I like this lifestyle. I like being able to do this from anywhere. And I'm going to turn it into a business. So I started a company called Accelerators Organization. And I recruited 20 of my really close, very successful business peers and friends who were all running million and $10, $20 million companies. And I said, hey, would you devote, some time each month to answer questions? Because I don't know everything. I'm just one guy that, even though I know business, I'm not an expert at everything, right? And so they said, sure. And so we created this community where we mentor startup entrepreneurs. And that's what I do today. Personally, I love wine. I'm a big wine collector. I have about 2,000 bottles of vintage wine. I live in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee, here in the United States, and 2 dogs and a cat. Never been married, no kids. Just wasn't in the stars for me to do that, but just live a great life and have some fun. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I love it. So I love that you kind of stumbled into this career, because this is a regular theme actually for many people, is that when you do something that you just love and you enjoy, and I feel like you're really there then for the right reasons, right? Like you're there for the joy, you're there because you like it, you're there because you enjoy it. Like that always for me is such a great career path for people to take, because you literally were doing it for free, right? Because it was just the sheer joy of it. This was something I really enjoyed. This is kind of really fun for me. And then that blossoms into that next step where it creates this amazing new business for you, which is like so incredible. And I love it because this is one of the principles that we teach inside my $1 Million Experiment, is to follow our joy, to follow our bliss. It literally leads the way to, we can hustle to get the results. And yes, it gets the results, but by the time you get those results, do you have any quality of life left to enjoy the results? Or we can follow our bliss, we can follow our joy of what we really enjoy doing, and we have a bigger chance that there is going to be a great deal of quality of life when we get to the results. And is that something that you have found yourself?
It's an interesting outlook of the way to look at that, because I hear that quite a bit from very successful people. Find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, that type thing. And I was the exact opposite. When I started that company at 32, it wasn't something that I loved to do. It was just something that I fell into. I was like, I'm very competitive. I'm going to be really good. I loved the business. I thought I had a great idea, and the market, responded and said, yes, I did. But I was never really passionate about selling computer systems to hotels. I was passionate about being an entrepreneur and living that lifestyle, but the business I was in was just a vehicle to make me as much money as I could and live the life of an entrepreneur and grow. And there are different stages when you go from 0 to 700,000, and you go from 700 to 1.5 million to 3 million,
absolutely,
5 million to 10 million to 20 million. We have to evolve as people at a very rapid pace to really become strong leaders and builders of people. And that I enjoyed. I loved learning. I loved being challenged, but I didn't really care too much about selling computer systems to hotels, if that makes sense. So it wasn't like something I was passionate about the product or service. I was just passionate about being an entrepreneur. I did like my product and service, and we were really good at it, but that wasn't I knew I wasn't going to be doing that the rest of my life. So I had kind of an opposite approach of, I made a lot of money, more money than I ever imagined in my entire life. And then it was, okay, now selfishly, this is kind of a weird dialogue, but this will be good for you, hopefully good for your community. Then selfishly, I said, I don't want to go out and start another traditional company because I love my lifestyle. I love being able to wake up whenever I want, travel, and be able to run my business from any device, run a remote team, which was kind of neat with what's been going on in the world today. A lot of people are moving and working from home or working from anywhere. So it kind of was early adopter of that, and truly now enjoy, helping people. When I was younger, I was less about helping people and I was more about helping myself. And I was very kind of selfish and I was very, very focused on my goals. And who's to say what's wrong or right in the world, right? Because now
I started my first business like that too, with the goal was to get rich. The goal was I started with brick and mortar shops, and between the age of 23 and 26 in the north of Scotland, I built 4 separate 6-figure businesses, and then I worked in them all. So we know that story didn't end well. And I built these businesses literally from the ground up, bootstrapped them, built them from the ground up and things. And it was really I had that, exactly like you, that focus. I was in love with being an entrepreneur. I did love what I did. I was good at it, but it was, it was the vehicle. And then when, I ended up with, I didn't get to the point of the bougie time out. My time out was enforced on me when I hit a huge burnout. And then I built this business, but it was, I started from the inside out this time, like you. I just did what was joyful, what was good, what was fun, and helping people and coaching them and mentoring people in their lives to help, either with their business or with their life. And then it just kind of grew from there. And it became my business that I have now. And I love the freedom of my lifestyle. That's my big thing now. I just like that I can operate my business from my mobile. It's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I always, it's every time I hear certain, and I've always been kind of a rebel, a renegade, if you will, a contrarian thinker, which is, if the masses go this way, I'm always that person that says, well, no, there's got to be a better way. Like that path less traveled. I've always been that type of person. And so whenever I hear those analogies of the popular social media people that say, find what you love, as somebody who now, like yourself, mentors, quite a few people, it's not uncommon for people when they're just starting out to not even know what they're passionate about. So when they hear, follow your passion, they're like, thanks, but that does absolutely nothing for me. I don't know what my passion is. I don't have any truly valued skills. I've had regular run-of-the-mill jobs, and here I've got somebody telling me to go do what I love and I can become a millionaire. And they're like, I don't even know what I love, but I want the $1 million. So that vagality, if you will, if that's a word, I have seen firsthand on my Instagram account when I do my live streams that these younger people, it happens at all of ages too, but at any juncture when somebody says, okay, hey, Shawn, you got me. What in the world do I have to do to become a millionaire? And I'm like, well, where you been? What have you done? What are your resources? What are your skills? Who do you know? Where do you live? All those things come into play to determine what your individual unique path to being a millionaire is going to be, because it's not like it's going to be the same for everybody. I was a sales guy, so it was naturally much easier for me when I found the company that actually got some results for me to grow the company, because I knew how to go out there and sell. But I meet people every day that are becoming new entrepreneurs, and they have these ideas. And then I ask them, how many years of sales training have you had to be able to know how to go sell? And they're like, none. And I'm like, oh, whoa, you got to learn how to sell, because it doesn't matter what product you have if you can't get out there and talk to people and sell it. So it's like, and these are all these different roadblocks and obstacles. And they're going, but wait, someone just said, do what I'm passionate about. But yeah, you got to kind of match that with a little bit of skill too, to know how to actually build the business.
I fully agree with that. I fully agree with it. I think a big part of what happens in my community is I help people identify what they're passionate about. I help them to sift through all of who we are, because these are life skills that we're not taught in school. We're taught in school to do well in school, whatever that means, to do well in college, and then you will get a decent job. None of us are ever like, you will get a decent job that you will love and that you will spring out of bed in the morning. That doesn't factor into the way that society lines it up for us. So I work with people from all different works of life and you know, in stages in life and ages in life. And, you know, I work with lots of women who are in their 50s and even their 60s, and they have gone all of that time and they do not even know what it is that they want, because they haven't paused, stopped, reflected, looked inside themselves. What is it that I actually even enjoy in this world? What is it that I really like? And we help unfold that and help people to tap into that. So I fully agree. I do think the advice, follow what lights you up, is good, but you're right. Like, if you don't even know what you like, you don't even know if you like chicken or steak, right? Like, how are you gonna decide what, you know, what you're gonna love to do for the rest of your life as a business? So yes, I appreciate that. I think that's such a valid point that you brought to the table there.
Well, one of the things that you've done, Joanna, is going with what you just said. You know, I wrote a little book called The Power of Naivety, and I'm more than happy to give your community a free e-copy if you just remind me.
Oh my God, we would love that.
And I started thinking about, how did I find success in life? You know, fortunately, I had parents that never, ever limited me, which is a rarity, but they never limited me. Of course, they were the ones, you know, they grew up in the older generation and they're like, you know, you should go to college and you should get a good job and you should do this. But what they knew very quickly, that I was the wild child and that I was going to follow my passions and dreams. And so they never tried to hold me back. They said, you know, Shawn, we love you. We can't help you because we don't know the type of life that you're looking to build, but we know we did a good job raising a good person. You're going to make good decisions, and we're always here if you need us, but we just can't do this. But most people, they have been raised with parents and teachers and coaches and bosses of limited mindset that force their opinions and views on them. So people just really don't get a chance, as you said, to find themselves and find out what could make them happy. So my book is called The Power of Naivety because I live my life naively, which naive is not a bad word. Most people attribute it to, you know, oh, you're just naive as an insult, but really, what's so insulting about not knowing something? Like, so what? I don't know it, but I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. You know, that saying. And so I always live my life that I don't know what's going to happen, but if I'm not going to kill myself, I'm just going to go ahead and try. And so that's how I always lived my life, was not living with fear. And what you're doing is you have created a community that helps somebody understand that there is a different way than what they were taught. They don't have to live a life with a limited mindset. You're teaching people that they can live an abundant mindset. Anything is possible. All they got to do is dream it and then have that desire, as you've talked about. And that's what people haven't had in technology, like Zoom and your podcast and all the wonderful work you're doing with your YouTube channel and everything. Is you're showing people and you're giving people that opportunity to be around other people that will let them be them.
Yes, I love that. And it's so true. I really, really, that's what it is. It's about expanding that mindset, because so many of us have been forced into a very closed mindset. And we think this is the only way to success, to follow what the rules that society laid down. And for a lot of us, and especially people who are, you know, even business people that have had very kind of straight up and down businesses, if we put it that way, is that even a lot of them are very creative, you know, and I think that the way that the world is set up, it can be a creative's playground, but for most creatives, it's squishing that spirit. And I think it's about unleashing that creative spirit and allowing yourself to explore what are the infinite possibilities in front of you? What are the infinite possibilities in life? And that's something that's really exciting to me, is helping introduce more people to that. I was going to ask you something there as well. With your community, where you help people and you mentor people in your community, when you decided to open that up, obviously we've got this fabulous lifestyle that you have by your own design here. And so when you decided, right, okay, I'm going to mentor people, which is like kind of going back to work in a way, but you wanted to keep it wide open like that, was that an easy transition for you to step into that role on a deeper level?
Sure. The only difference between, I mean, obviously been building a business where I did already from scratch. And then, you know, we had 100 employees in my last company. So I went through virtually every evolution that you can as a small business owner. And the toughest transition has been marketing. I used to have a company where we made sales calls. And the coaching business like we have in the mentoring community, it's more about advertising and marketing, and whether it's content marketing or digital marketing or whatever it might be. I'm not used to just putting out the flag and then hoping people come. I'm a little bit more direct and aggressive. I want to actually pick up the phone and be like, Joanna, you're a small business owner. You're doing $700,000 a year. I can help you get to $1 million and beyond with some strategies that I'm sure are us and our mentors. Like, I want to like talk to you and like, but that's very challenging in this world that we live in with that. And so that's been probably the hardest part. And then secondly, I do have bouts of, I have a really good life and I'm not doing this business, fortunately, because of money. Like I've already done that. Absolutely. I do still like to make money, and I still do charge, you know, a nominal fee, if you will. But when you're not doing it for the money, then I do find myself sometimes going, you know, I think I'm just going to lay at the pool and hang out with my pups, you know, right now, instead of being really aggressive in my own business. And it is nice to do that because I've got the savings or whatever it might be. If there's one thing that I could, you know, elate to the people that are in your community that are on that 20-step plan to try to build to be a millionaire, or to have $1 million, whatever that is for them, is one of the best ways to do that and grow is through subscription revenue. You know, instead of offering a product or service for a one-time fee, and then you have to continue to go out and find new customers, try to create kind of like what you've done, a community, a membership, some sort of subscription where someone's paying you $5 a month or $100 a month, or, you know, whatever it might be, because then you have that base income, almost like a paycheck, that can allow you to help build your team, and you don't have to worry about finding new money every single time. It truly makes your path as an entrepreneur that much easier when you know each and every month from your subscription revenue, you've got $50,000 or $100,000 a month coming in. And you're like, whoa, like, pinch me, is this real? And so, you know, I always encourage the people that are starting out on that first path to really challenge themselves to think of some things that they can do that provide ongoing value to all of their clients, customers, community, whatever it might be, in that those people will come back time and time again, and that subscription revenue just really starts accumulating each month. And then one day you wake up and you're like, I did 175,000 this month. Like, you know that feeling, right? Like you did that post. I did 175,000 this month. Whoa.
And it was just like, it was nuts. And it was one of these moments that you wonder how you're ever going to make money like that until you do it. And then you're like, oh my God, you know, and it was it was really out there, but it was amazing. What I do love this, and I think there's such an infinite emphasis in business on get the new customer, get the new customer, get the new customer. One of the things that I've done in all of my businesses is make sure I look after the people who have said yes to me. Like a lot of people stay in my communities for a long time, like they stay for years, and I love being able to walk with them for that process. I love being able to see them elevate on the journey, see them move into other products that we have and other things that we have. And I think this is a really important thing. And you're absolutely right. With a subscription model, what you get is you get to walk with people and support them for longer and see them for longer. And I think, we're such a quick fix society now. Got a headache, pop some pills, here's a quick fix solution to fix this problem. And I think we negate, you were saying that your 10 years of desperation, right? Like we negate how important that was training day for what came next, right? Like that was building the muscle of tenacity, that was building your resilience, that was building your ability to walk with joy and disappointment in equal measure, right? That was building all of these very, very important things for you when you then went on to building the really successful business from there. And it's evolution and growth over a lifetime, and so much of, especially online business, is very much wham bam, thank you ma'am, instead of how can we build the relationship that, and I'm going to be with you for a while, instead of like, I say to people, like, if you want to be a flash in the pan here, I'm not really probably going to be the coach for you. I would rather be able to walk with you in years to really be there for your entire expansion, not just a piece of it. Mm-hmm. And I think I love that, things like the subscription model is perfect for that. And I love creating that reoccurring revenue as well. It's really beautiful way to do things.
Yep.
Tell people, if they've listened to this and they're feeling really inspired, how can they find you on the internet? How can they find you? And where do you hang out the most? Is it Instagram and Ask a Millionaire? Is that your favorite place?
Yeah, Ask a Millionaire on Instagram. I put out fun, sometimes a little controversial, just to kind of shake things up kind of content. And then I try to do Instagram lives. At least I try to do one once a day when I'm not too busy or traveling or what have you, but I love to do Instagram lives and just answer questions. It's actually something I just really enjoy doing. It's kind of like the highlight of my day, just to give back and just give people an opportunity to ask a millionaire a question. So that's definitely the best place to find me.
I love that. Thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us today. I have really, really adored this conversation. We're going to make sure that we pop all the links below so that they can find you easily. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for what you're doing. It's awesome that you're creating such a great community environment for people to learn. Hopefully through your activity and my activity, we can make it so people don't have to have their own 10 years of desperation, and we can give them the guidance and the tools and the resources that they need to not go through what we had to endure.
Right. Amen. Amen to that. Definitely.